What's up, y'all? So you all might not have seen me for a couple days. So where the fuck have I been? I've been in Washington, D.C. No, I was not trying to take over the White House. No, I am not the president of the United States, regardless of that horrible TikTok video that I did. But I was actually there because of this.
Congressional Democrats in a closed-door meeting this morning planning the future of the party as President Biden fights for support.
Well, he's a good man. He has good policies. There's no reason to change.
Shut up, Unc. Like, I really hate, whenever Democrats win, nationally or locally or whatever, it's always because of black people. Why do we keep saving these people's asses? Why do we keep saving these people? Logan Mansion Game says, "Hi, BRG, I just joined. What's up?" You ask that every time you come here. It's very endearing. I hope you can hear me okay. I'm trying out a new module, I guess. It's StreamYard instead of Streamlabs. I like it a lot. I like it better already because Streamlabs sucks and it's been fucking with my guests and collab cam and whatnot. But let's try this for a little bit. But let me know if you can hear me all right and if you can hear the videos that I play. Afternoon, BRG. Perfect timing. I'm on my lunch. Well, enjoy.
Congressman Steve Cohen after the meeting saying they are not on the same page.
They're not even in the same book.
In a letter yesterday to congressional Democrats, Biden writes, "The question of how to move forward has been well aired for over a week now, and it's time for it to end."
He just has to step down.
So he mentions his job is to beat Trump. Can everybody hear me okay? If you can't hear me okay, say something. Also, you can see that I'm showing comments. Can you hear the video that's playing? Well, that was playing. If not, let me know. I strive to provide quality content and brainwashing material for all of you. But, yeah, I'm good. So, where was I in Washington, D.C.? I was in Washington, D.C. because it's important that we stand against NATO. What is NATO? The North Atlantic Treaty Organization. And one of the major things that I learned in the counter summits and at the protests is that the North Atlantic Treaty Organization is not just operational in the North Atlantic. Javier Milei, the president, the ANCAP president of Argentina, is actually trying to join NATO. You're in the South Atlantic, you're not in the North Atlantic, but that's the thing. North Atlantic Treaty Organization is not an organization that's dedicated to the defense of the countries that comprise it. It is a U.S. imperialist tool. That's essentially what it is. The first general secretaries, I think that's what the title of whoever heads this horrible thing is called. The first general secretary, if I recall correctly, was a former Nazi. Let's see. NATO's first secretary general was Lord Hastings Lionel Ismay. Okay. But anyways, a lot of former Nazis were involved in the formation of NATO. And that's not good because the Nazis were supposed to have been sort of ousted from power, not allowed to run things. Anyways.
Down.
So Biden is hosting this thing. And obviously this guy, Nazi Atlantic Terrorist Organization. Thank you, Purple Blast Stories. You always have the most apt quips. But one of them was Hitler's chief of staff. I knew Nazis were involved in this. Anything that's bad, there's always some American or former Nazi or general shitty person involved in it. Fuck NATO.
Because he can't win. A dismissive letter.
I promise you.
I feel very reassured by the president's plan.
The White House is...
How the fuck you're lying, bro? I'm jealous of your beautiful head of hair, but you're lying. How do you feel reassured by this guy? He looks like a fucking Fallout ghoul.
Facing questions. Oh,
yeah. That's what's going on in D.C. this week. So what did I do in Washington, D.C.? Well, I attended 2 counter summits. The first was a lot of older people of European descent. There were also a lot of actual Europeans there. I met comrades from France who were very happy at the outcome of their election, even though I'm going to explain later that communists really should not be pleased by that because as communists, we center the well-being of people in colonized countries. And you cannot have a social democracy and you cannot brag about beating fascism if you are still occupying many parts of the world, like the people of Kanaki, also known as New Caledonia, which translates to New Scotland. I don't know why a French colony would call itself New Scotland. Anyways, are engaged in an uprising against continued French colonization of their beautiful island. You also have the continued situation that's going on in the Sahel, where the people are rightfully rising up against and opposing French imperialism. So, a funny thing I did by the White House.
Like, if it wasn't so fucking hot right now, it would be the perfect fucking city. Even though they won't let me access my own home. Yes, I am Black Red Guard. I'm the president of the United States. I live at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, but because I'm black and from St. Louis, they won't let me access my own home. You can tell that Washington, D.C. is a gay-friendly city, though, because they have a giant dick.
I had to do a little trolling. But I also saw this cool thing, like right by my hotel. A very nice little stencil. You can tell that D.C. has been host to several Palestine solidarity demonstrations. 3 days dark and cringy when great Barack led us our all. He saw the fire of drone strikes above, and Biden, our leader with advanced dementia, inspires us to tear down this land we despise. Rest in power, Nipsey Hussle. I will slap you just for slavery on a fucking shirt, to be honest. The Panthers were in a stage of total madness, recalls Lerner. As these months went on, as they became more paranoid and more crazy, they kind of took it out on us. To them, our offices were much bigger and much nicer than theirs. We had a lot of equipment and cars, and the printing press. This is a former SDS Students for Democratic Society member talking about the situation and the contradictions with the Chicago branch of the Black Panther Party in the late 60s. 1969, if I recall correctly. That was emotionally horrible. You couldn't dare question it politically. This is basically like white woman tears. It was completely insane. Tensions climaxed when a group of Panthers stormed the SDS office, jammed a gun into a girl's face, beat up the SDS printer, Ron Fliegelman, and ransacked the office, making up with typewriters and other equipment. Afterward, Bernadine Dorn, one of the founders of the Weather Underground, and others went to the Panther offices to complain, Lerner recalls, and they were basically kicked down the stairs. And then a DSA rightist basically took this and another statement that I made to mean that I want to push members of the DSA right downstairs. I do not want to do that because, as wrong as they may be, these people are still my comrades. We're in the same organization together, and I have no intention to use any form of physical violence against comrades in the same organization. And you have to consider like the racialized implications. Of course, this person has since blocked me and locked their account. To be fair, I blocked them first because I was sick of their stupidity. But you have to consider the implications of you implying that one of your black comrades is unjustifiably violent. You cannot do that because that type of shit gets black people lynched and thrown in prison for the rest of our natural lives. So if you're a white person that is in community or in comradeship with black people, you have to consider the things that you say. And you have to realize that you cannot imply things like that. And then the funny thing is, like, I didn't even know that this person had said this. A comrade, Mina Vevo, mentioned the fact that Hurricane Beryl, like it just finished fucking up Houston, Texas, which gets quite a few hurricanes. It's on the Gulf. But before, Beryl destroyed a substantial chunk of the Caribbean. And Mina says that one of their aunties was able to get in contact with her grandmother, but Beryl damaged her house and her grandmother is in desperate need of mutual aid. She recently lost her son, Mina's uncle, and now she has had to survive a Category 5 hurricane, and she definitely needs support. So, yeah. That's what's going on in the Caribbean and down the Gulf Way. Imagine being so, like, confident that you are never going to face justice for what you're doing. You are so confident you feel comfortable putting this stuff on the internet. So for those who can't see, This is an Israeli-American soldier. He has a U.S. flag on his uniform right there. And he posted on Instagram that he will be in Gaza again soon. He was in Gaza City back in February. He says that they're letting me loose in Gaza again soon. Every Palestinian wins a surprise 5.56 round to the fucking head. Palestine can suck my fucking balls. Fuck Gaza and fuck Palestine. Y'all don't deserve shit but that. This sort of puts the lie to the myth that these people are over there to just to fight Hamas. No, this is a genocidal campaign. This is a genocidal campaign. All NATO countries, this ties into why I was in Washington, D.C. in the first place, all NATO countries participate actively with Israel, like they sell weapons to Israel, they help Israel commit these atrocious actions. And now you have a literal American over there. This guy needs to face criminal charges. Like if I want to go fight with the fucking NPA or the CPI Maoist, I probably would not be allowed to re-enter the country, or I would be arrested immediately upon re-entry. But you have this person who is over there literally bragging about committing war crimes, and he's going to be able to come back and reintegrate into civil society. Now, hey, I'm considering joining Bread and Roses. Anything I should be aware of? It seems like from what I've been able to learn about them that their politics are all right / better on West Coast and seemingly Marxist. Do you have any opinions on them? Yes, they are Marxist. If I recall correctly, they are more in the Trotsky tradition, but yeah. The older I get, I'm going to be 30 Sunday, by the way. The older I get, the less I realize that any of this shit matters. I remember seeing it half Israeli, half American, and half Israeli bumper sticker on a Jeep once after shopping. Well, at least they're being consistent. They're showing who butters their fucking bread. I've been gone like a day. No, I think I was gone for 3 days. Anyways. So, yeah. This guy needs to be immediately executed. You know, it always amuses me that cops are... These people are supposed to be the thin blue line saving society from chaos. And they are afraid of the most remedial shit. Like, you are afraid of a fucking... This was a fireworks explosion. It was some little kid who chucked the firework at your car and blew the window out and damaged the body of the car. But they're literally saying that this is some shit that went down like in Iraq. An improvised explosive device explosion damaged a police patrol car and injured an officer early this morning. How are you injured? What happened to you? Were your fingers blown off? Did you get a boo-boo? According to the agency, a BPD patrol officer was responding to a disturbance, aka fireworks, in North Beaverton around 2 a.m. on July 4th. While driving along 158th Avenue, the officer saw a flash and heard an explosion, which shattered the window of his patrol car and damaged the door. The officer suffered non-life-threatening injuries. The BPD says that an investigation showed an IED caused the damage, and the officers were not able to find the suspect who made or deployed the device. Bro, you're not in fucking Fallujah. You're in Beaverton. It was a fucking kid playing with the firework. What is wrong with you? This is Rasan Roland Koch. Rasan Roland Kirk distributing cocaine to the front row of the audience during a televised performance at the Montreux Jazz Festival. The 70s were wild. And apparently this wasn't even cocaine. He was handing out snuff, but I like to think that it was cocaine. If I ever end up on the NPC of DSA, it's going to be because of some stunt like this. Just joking, and whatever FBI agent is watching this, I'm not going to be handing out cocaine at a political convention. Yeah, I don't think that was cocaine. Nobody's just going to go to a concert and hand out cocaine to white people. I'm sorry. If you do, you're a fucking idiot. I want to boost my account security. Fuck off. My account will remain insecure. Oops. Anyways, so in Washington D.C., I've actually met a lot of good people that I previously had only known from Twitter and YouTube and stuff like that. Like every fucking 5 seconds, I was like, "Are you BRG? Are you BRG?" I started to stop saying I was BRG. Next time I go to one of these things, I think I might go in whiteface so people don't know who I am. Because here's the thing, like, yeah, I get it. I'm sort of a mild internet celebrity, but like I was actually there to participate and learn from the struggle. But it's a double-edged sword because I'm not going to say that I was ignored. I was actually honored that a lot of people actually give a fuck about what I have to say. But the main thing is like, don't just seek out people that you know from the internet. Like, you have to actually be involved in struggle, and you have to actually like never ever build a cult of personality around anybody. Because when you do that, you are basically putting this person, whether it be me, Hassan, Kavanagh, any of these content creators, yeah, it's important for propaganda to be spread online because that's where everybody is. But it's also really important that you recognize that it takes millions of us to make this revolutionary thing work. Okay, it can't just be one person because, like, every movement that has been centered around an individual, for example, take the Partido Comunista del Peru, the Communist Party of Peru. Okay, they were centered around Abel Guzman, Presidente Gonzalo. And what happened when Gonzalo was captured? They fell apart. And we don't want our movement to fall apart because we centered around one person. If picking out one person can derail your whole struggle was built on a faulty premise in the first place. So never, ever put an individual on a pedestal. Like, if I'm wrong, if I say something fucked up, call me on it. And if it's right, like, some people sometimes just don't like people and they find everything to fuck with people about. Okay, that's not principled criticism. Principled criticism is like, hey, I like you, I like what you're doing, I like your work in DSA or whatever organization this individual happens to be in, but you were wrong on this. Here is how you were wrong. That's how you criticize a person. And nobody is above criticism. So keep that in mind. Just doom scrolling Twitter. God, I posted a lot of shit in DC. I should have spent less time posting and more time working. But it was cool being able to meet a lot of people who know me from my YouTube channel and know the old videos are not coming back. There we go. I found where I wanted to be. The old videos are not coming back because I fucking deleted them. That was like 2 laptops ago, bro. But this is what I said. If white progressives talk to the Black Panther Party like they try to talk to Palestinian solidarity activists, they would literally end up getting hurled down a flight of stairs. If the comrades start checking folks like that, I will not begrudge them because motherfuckers are talking mad reckless. That's what I meant. I did not mention DSA. I did not mention any of the riotous caucuses or any riotous individual within DSA, but this person took what I said wildly out of context and weaponized their white woman tears to be like the big scary black Maoist wants to join up with the big scary Arabs to hurl me, an innocent white woman, downstairs. That's some Emmett Till shit. Don't do that, okay? Because what happens is you're going to, like, I want black people to join DSA. I want to fundamentally change the ethnic composition of this organization because it has too many conservative in a leftist sense white people in it. It has too many white people. All they want is free college and a bunch of reforms. They don't want to topple the United States. They don't want to end U.S. imperialism. Same thing in France. A lot of these people don't want to end French imperialism. They want more for themselves. Socialism is not just more shit for whitey, okay? Socialism is not free shit for whitey. Socialism means we know what we've done to these other countries, and we're getting the fuck out of these other countries because these other countries have the right to realize their own development without our meddling and without us taking all of their resources. So if the new government in France is not willing to thoroughly decolonize, not just decolonize, but make amends to the countries that they continue to ruin, it is not a socialist government. It is a social fascist government in the tradition of the Second International. Am I ever going back to LA? I might. I like traveling. No, what's up, Dust James? Did we? I think we got into it on Twitter. I think I've gotten into it with everybody on Twitter. Sign on to tell the Democratic Party's leadership that it's time to call it. Withdraw Biden. Reject fascism. Do you really think that the Democratic Party is going to do anything because somebody asks them to? Like a petition. If a petition could fundamentally reform the United States and the Democratic Party, then it would have happened years ago. Like starting a petition is like the baseline political activity. Am I opposed to petitions in principle? This is the person that was fucking with me, by the way. They blocked and locked their account. I guess they thought I was going to send my goons after them. But that's not going to happen. Like, this is desperate activity from the DSA, right? The Democrats don't give a fuck about your petition. You already saw how Jamal Bowman treated you. Like, Jamal Bowman literally went on Mark Lamont Hill's show and called the left wing of DSA APAC operatives and even COINTELPRO agents. These people do not give a fuck. AOC, aka Lil Nancy Pelosi, endorsed Biden. After all the work that you all were supposed to have been doing on her and with her, she endorsed Biden. These people do not give a fuck about you. Stop standing them so hard. This is how I dressed in DC, by the way. I'm everybody's fucking favorite Maoist frat boy. I actually am not in a fraternity. One thing I hated about DC was that it was so full of fucking rats. This is why. Like, how the fuck are you just going to leave a whole ass meal in a drink? Rats love that shit. I walked by it again later. It actually turned out to have become the property of the sparrows. Go pick up this corn. You've got really good fucking eyes, Ryan. Yeah, go pick up the dirty penny. But yeah, resist NATO, defend people's struggle for rights and liberation. The speaker was Ali of the Palestinian Youth Movement. I met a couple of their people, really good people. One of the major reasons that I'm running for co-chair of my local DSA branch is that this is who we need to be working with. We need to be working with Palestine, with Palestinian Youth Movement. We need to be working with Within Our Lifetime. We need to be working with Samadou. All of these people are unofficially boycotting DSA because of the stupid shit that we did before I even joined. Like, how the fuck are you not going to expel? Jamal Bowman should have been expelled. This man literally went to Israel on a J Street funded trip. He hung out with members of the Israeli government. And you actually are shocked that Palestinians don't want to fuck with you? Like, if you had a guy that your organization had endorsed hanging out with members of the Ku Klux Klan, do you think they would have flown? He's meeting with fucking David Duke. Do you think that is going to, do you think that's going to fly? No. And do you have the right to act surprised when black people don't want to fuck with you? No. So why would you not extend that same charity to Palestinians? Is DSA a useful vehicle if it's an ever-narrowing group of sect members seeking to become the glorious membership of an organization with a smaller and smaller membership? What are you talking about? There is no ever-narrowing group of ex-sect members seeking to become the glorious leadership. I don't think you understand how DSA works. Yes, there are members that were formerly in organizations that would be called sects, but that is not the entirety of the left wing of DSA. It is a very, very common delusion that a lot of the DSA writers have, but no, that is not the case. DSA could become a genuinely socialist organization. Maria, you're in a YDSA, aren't you? Very good. DSA is still hanging on to the Dems. Luckily, YDSA is talking about an independent workers' party. That is what DSA needs to become. Like, I encourage every communist who's watching this, like, you need to join your local DSA chapter, seek leadership positions, get to be known, gain some prestige among the rank and file, either work to get elected to one of the committees, or honestly, the best thing, because a lot of us are strong in theory, the best thing that you can do is become one of the chairs of your local political education committee. That's how you help shift people's consciousness. Bren Rosas Trotsky lane, do you think they can change? Why would you, like, if they operate in the Trotskyist tradition, that's fine. Find points of unity. If you don't disagree with them, if you disagree with their points of unity, I would not recommend joining a caucus. Never join a caucus just to wreck it or try to turn it into something that it's not. Like, I would not advise you to join Bread and Roses. Like, I have comrades who are in Bread and Roses. I would not advise you to join Bread and Roses, trying to turn them into a solidly Marxist-Leninist branch. Don't do that. You check the recent minutes of your local chapter, and it was all about endorsing local Democrats and canvassing for them. I mean, yeah. I mean, we do have an electoral work. Like in St. Louis, a lot of people are dedicated to Cori Bush. Do I want Cori Bush to lose? Absolutely not. Wes Bella's a horrible person. He's a horrible man, and he's bought off by AIPAC. Like, why would I want an AIPAC stooge to replace an actual objective fighter for the working class? She did vote to break the rail strike, so that sucks. But just from her actions, she is the left wing, along with Rashida Tlaib, of the squad. And I do not want her to be defeated. That's why I donated $50 to her last month. Might donate some more. Your YDSA chapter is reading the Communist Manifesto right now, which you've read dozens of times, but it's still cool to talk about with your fresher comrades. Maria, you need to be on the political education committee. You need to be on the political education committee. Like, you need to share your knowledge. But yeah, this was based. This was where all the cool people were. Not saying I didn't meet cool people at the other counter summit, but this is where all the people who recognized me. This is where the Red Triangle kids were hanging out. Canadians were not talking about hockey and maple syrup. Even as we speak, Black Redguard and his cadre of fanatics are consolidating their power. I didn't know I had a cadre of fanatics, but I suppose they'll come in handy one day. This is me and a comrade from DC. Pretty cool, dude. 2 of DSA's most wanted. Today, let's appreciate Chairman Gonzalo and the shining past contributions to Mount. You know, I despise socialism left. I despise socialism but left. Yes, socialism has left your brain. Killing 15,000 to 35,000 people, mostly indigenous. Okay, it's a fucking war. And you are operating on statistics that probably come from the government-controlled Council Committee for Truth and Reconciliation and the CIA and the U.S. government. But even if these were like real figures, it's a fucking war. And you also have forgotten the fact that the Peruvian government would literally have their soldiers dress up as, no, I did not hear about socialism on the left's dead and granddad. No, I did not. But the Peruvian government literally would have people dress up as PCP soldiers and would conduct massacres. Okay, so probably have this number. Okay, chop these numbers in half, and you might have an accurate number of the people that the Shining Path actually killed. Building socialism by burning ballot boxes. Why were they burning ballot boxes? Because the election was a neoliberal farce. That's why. And finally, they upheld the position that socialism does not come from elections. These were not democratic elections. Socialism does not come from elections. Even if there was a so-called socialist elected, that socialist still would have marched to the step of neoliberalism. So it wouldn't be a socialist government at all. Socialism can only come through, as Gonzalo himself said, rivers of blood. Does this mean that we just go around murdering innocent people? Absolutely not. But what this does mean is that you have to be willing to pay the sacrifices that are required to have a real revolution. Otherwise, never make revolution halfway. Like, climate change is an existential threat to the continued survival of humanity. We don't have time for playing anymore. We simply do not. So yes, revolution is bloody. People are going to die on both sides. But it's worth it. Justifying the rule of a neoliberal, I'm not even going to respond to that. And collapsing within 2 years of their leader's arrest. Yes. Jefetura is not an appropriate way to organize a party because it fundamentally leads itself to a cult of personality. And when you take out the head of the cult of personality, you're gonna fuck up. So socialism done left's granddad was directly involved in Bay of Pigs invasion, and his dad helped develop cluster munitions. And then his dad used his blood money to send him to private school where he wrote essays about the evils of socialism. Socialism on the left is talking about mostly indigenous, but Gonzalo always supported natives. Yeah, most of the fighters in the People's Guerrilla Army were indigenous people. Read Jose Carlos Mariatajue's writings. This I also agree with. But yeah, socialism on the left is a joke. The socialism has left its brain. Today, a monumental step for Pan-Africanism has been taken again. The AES has formerly been founded by Mali, God, I'm such a Yankee, Niger, and Burkina Faso. This will have ramifications on African politics for years to come. Regardless of the obstacles, Africans will continue to move forward. Also, check me out tomorrow. I'm going to be interviewing this comrade, Arju, who is in YDSA at Purdue University. And we're going to be talking about why he's running and his various positions that justify his election to the at-large seat of YDSA, well, one of the at-large seats. He's a good poster. So what did I like about DC? What did I hate about DC? I had the best hamburger of my life at the Hamilton up the street from my hotel. They have fucking insane food. It's because of the second reason why I like DC, the immense diversity. It's gorgeous and walkable, and there's excellent public transit. Things I hate about DC, there are many, many rats. I thought I was going to enjoy a nice, cool cigarette, but I could not because the rats would not leave me alone. One of them almost jumped on my shoulder. God, I can't fucking talk. I don't know if I'm picking up a DC accent after 3 days or if I never could talk. Maybe I'm just permanently tongue-tied. But yeah, too many fucking rats. Get rid of them and quit leaving food everywhere. There are also aggressive pigeons. I saw the fattest pigeons in DC that I've ever seen. Like in St. Louis, pigeons have to work for their food here. Out there, they're like the politicians. They're overfed and fat, and they can barely fly. They like jump and they hover above the ground. And they have no fear of man. Like they'll literally just walk right in front of you. There's cops everywhere. It's the headquarters of Yankee imperialism, and it does not take care of its unhoused population. Like, how the fuck are you the capital of the richest country in the world? You have people from foreign countries that are coming to do business in your capital, and you have unhoused people everywhere. It's pointless. It's stupid. And I highly recommend that if you're a black in a majority white organizing space, you need to make a habit of refreshing yourself and hanging out with and grounding with our own people as often as possible. Black spaces are really, really important. You have to decompress from the stress that comes with spending too much time with white folks and the subsequent detachment from and distrust from other black people when they see you hanging out with white people too much. Even if it's just an online space where you go to talk about the foolishness that some of our clear comrades get up to. July 6, 1992. Marsha P. Johnson's body is discovered floating in the Hudson River. The case remains unsolved and open. It is a reminder that violence against trans women of color is an epidemic that has not changed in 32 years since Marsha's death. Rest in power. The Confederation Treaty has been signed by the 3 AES states. They've literally rebuilt the Songhai. The contents of the treaty will be published soon, and this will mark the day when ECOWAS's dreams were shattered and brought to an end. All power to the people. This is Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso being welcomed by his people. This is what happens when and they were not made to come out to this, okay? Like a lot of people talk about, oh, they made them come. They said they were going to shoot them in the head. No, they came because they love their people and they love their leader. Why do they love their leader? Because he actually serves the people. He doesn't serve Yankee imperialism. He doesn't serve the French. He serves the average working person of this country. The same reason they loved, Thomas Sankara. There was no cult of personality around Thomas Sankara. Thomas Sankara actually did good for his people and broke them from American and French imperialism. So this is a U.S. Army colonel, general, whatever, signing over control of a military base in Niger to a Nigerian general. U.S. out of everywhere. One day, this will be happening everywhere. Let's see what Kala Walsh is reading. Pacifism is Pathology, Capital is Imperialism, Theory, History, and the Present. Jose Marti's Inside the Monster, John Brown, a biography. This is a really good one. Like W.E.B. Du Bois's biography of John Brown, like that will teach you everything you need to know about John Brown. Strike One, Educate 100, The Rise of the Red Brigade. I actually lent this to an Italian dude in PSL and he just never returned it back to me. Never, ever, ever lend a book to a Guinea. Was that a racial slur I just used? I hope not. Never, ever, ever lend the book to an Italian. He's never going to return it. When you lend books to Italians, well, first of all, they're probably not going to even read them. They're probably going to use them to wrap their fucking gabagool in. But yeah, don't do it. It's not worth it. Jane McColvey died. She was a real legend in labor organizing. And like if you hit her up, she would like hit you up. She would hit you back. A lot of people don't do that. Another one of my favorite authors, Kim Kelly, with her partner, got dual tattoos of James Brown's pikes. These were what they were going to arm the slaves with. Like they literally made hundreds of these things. Hundreds of them. That's me smoking a cigarette in front of the White House. I actually asked the person sitting next to me if like I could sit there without getting my head blown off. And she was like, oh, sure. Nobody's going to do anything to you. And judging from me still being able to be here to talk to you, she was not wrong. And yes, I know I dress like a fucking venture capitalist. I just love Lacoste shirts, even though they always shrink in the wash. We also had a demonstration. So this group met at McPherson Park, and we marched to Lafayette Square behind the White House, and that's where the rally was held. I marched with the Boricua, the Puerto Rican contingent, because they had bassed drums. Yeah. Picture I took of the White House. It's a very beautiful building. It should not be occupied by such evil people. You ever wondered how big the dragons in the Song of Ice and Fire series were? Well, this is Balerion the Dread. Honestly, Heron the Black, the guy who built Harrenhal, he was nuts. Like, why the fuck would you fuck with this thing? Why would you fuck with Balerion? Why would you fuck with anybody crazy enough to hop on Balerion and ride him around? Vagar, those of you who are watching House of the Dragon are familiar with Vagar. And by the time of the series, by the time of the Dance of the Dragons, like Vagar is the last living link to the period of Aegon's conquest. Because Balerion died, Vermithor, I believe, is dead. So Vagar was the last living creature to actually have participated in the unification of Westeros. Well, save for Dorne. But yeah, Vagar burned the Arryn fleet. And Visenya was actually able to bring the Vale into Aegon's new Seven Kingdoms peacefully by allowing the king of the Mountain and Vale at the time, Ronald Arryn, who I think was like 7 or 8 years old, he wanted to ride on a dragon. So Visenya let him ride 3 times around the Giant's Lance where the Eyrie is on Vagar. So that's how the Vale was peacefully subdued. And Vagar also took part in the Dragon's Wrath after Rhaenys, which was basically Aegon's nice sister wife, was murdered in Dorne. Well, killed in Dorne in the act of trying to conquer Dorne. And these are Daenerys' dragons over here. So this is Drogon, Rhaegal, Littlethings. You also have Caraxes, which is written by Daemon. Aemon Targaryen, the one-eyed dude, is a beast. Like, he literally just hopped on this big girl and rode her as a kid. Then you got She-Rex and Sea Smoke and all the other little dragons. So, yeah. Richie went on Tablet's podcast. Richie Torres, who everybody hates, went on Tablet's podcast and said that he has trouble getting dates because he's a Zionist. Thank you, gay man of New York. This is what's happening in Turkey right now. So they basically doxed every Syrian refugee. 3.5 million Syrian refugees were doxed who are living in Turkey. And today, fascist Turks are using the information to coordinate lynch mobs on Syrian homes throughout the country. But this was a couple days ago. Watch this. He just kicked the dude off the fucking scooter. Why would you do that? Like, why would you do something like this? What is wrong with these people?
Siren sesiyle başlamak üzere. Kendi
So they're just going around looking for Syrians to attack.
yumruk dahil her türlü suç 12 saat boyunca
Why are you doing this to fellow Muslims?
yasal olacaktır.
Git yolumdan defol. Olsan da işleriniz depo. Yeni başladık hani gördüklerin demo. O yüzden efor görünmez.
Fucking evil. Ultranationalist groups has leaked the biographical data of all Syrians across all of Turkey, organized by province and city, with some messages calling to deport or kill. And you think that this is something that's just happening overseas? Wait till Trump gets reelected. Being a black kid in the Deep South is the craziest experience because you'll be watching TV during a family reunion and then someone old will sit down and start telling a story about how your great uncle took on the KKK one night by himself. And you're like, dog, I'm 7. I actually had this experience. I didn't grow up in the Deep South like my grandma did. My grandma's from Itabita, Mississippi, a very, very small town. And she actually grew up on a plantation outside of Itabita called Mossy Island. When I was a kid, my grandma told me about how she beat the shit out of this white dude. He was a ginger named Maurice, and he was the manager's son. Basically, they had like a riding boss. His job was to ride over. I don't know whether or not he had a whip, but he basically rode over the sharecroppers to make sure they were doing their work. And this dude, this ginger, Maurice, tried to rape her in the cotton house. And she then, after beating the fuck out of this ginger, told my great grandma, who apparently had kids by the plantation owner, like there's an entire branch of my family who have gray eyes or blue eyes or green eyes and red hair. And yeah, honestly, I believe it. Like my great grandma was fucking the plantation owner. Voluntarily or involuntarily is something that I've never found out. But she had a kid by him, and my great grandma went and got his dad fired, Maurice's dad, and both of them got put off the plantation. Also, some of my great uncles also got into a shootout with some white folks, apparently killed a few, and they all hopped trains and scattered around the country. So my maternal family is all over the fucking place because of shit like that. A lot of socialists will post about how it makes no difference if we have a Republican or a Democrat president, when if Nixon beat Kennedy, he would have invaded and subdued the Cuban Revolution. Okay, I think did we not try to invade Cuba under Kennedy? Like the Bay of Pigs, was that like a mirage or something that I'm misremembering? And Nixon would not have nuked Cuba, okay? Like nobody was going to be using nuclear weapons. Why? Because that would result in the extinction of all human life and a substantial portion of the animal life on this planet. Yeah, the Madman doctrine was a thing, but again, it was basically bluffing. It was bluffing. That's it. It was not like a real fucking thing. Nixon was not seriously considering nuking North Vietnam or China. The only person I think would have actually used nukes would be Douglas MacArthur. Welcome to East St. Louis. No, I do not live in East St. Louis, but this is a former Riverfront Times photographer and writer. Zachary Linares. I like his writing, and I like his pictures. 4th of July in East St. Louis. Blackness. Unmitigated blackness. You see, dude has a fucking strap right there. Yeah. Black folks just living and enjoying themselves. Welcome to the 4th in East St. Louis. This is Tefpo,
aka Kyle.
This is Tefpo throwing shade on Wesley Bell
From Living Single.
Well, not just throwing shade, he's fucking eithering Wesley Bell.
This is Tefpo, and I do have some breaking news. Wesley Bell, aka Kyle from Living Single, is running around St. Louis and the greater state of Missouri, attempting to turn your grandmama and your granddaddy into political Zionists. He is currently being funded by AIPAC, which is a pro-Israel organization which seeks to legitimize the state of Israel through military conquest, through cultural conquest, through political influence, through social influence, through any way that they got to get it done, they're going to get it done. And this can include sending your black ass son and your black ass daughter to die in a war that ain't got shit to do with our better interests. You don't believe me? Check it out for yourself.
But we always want to keep the door open for a two-state solution. But there has to be, but we cannot give aid and comfort to terrorist organizations. And Hamas is a terrorist organization, and Israel has the right to defend themselves. It's misguided to not understand how complex this situation.
This is,
you know, my mom's ex-wife actually invited me to a barbecue at his house. I think she's forgotten, like, I'm more apt to lead a fucking squad of protesters to his house than sit down and eat and drink with this man. This is a Patriot Front. They marched somewhere, I can't remember. Nashville. They were marching earlier this week, a couple days ago. And they all crammed into this little bitty ass U-Haul van. Like a couple years ago, I think this was in 2002, a shitload, like 55 migrants died because they were all packed into the back of a semi. Of course, the migrants were actually a benefit to humanity. This Patriot Front trash is not of any benefit to anybody whatsoever. These are basically walking abortions, and hopefully a few of them smothercated. Hopefully more than a few of them smothercated. But yeah, I'm really, really glad that's what happening, and that's what is happening in the Sahel is happening, because like white people are really, really good at divide and conquer, and I'm really sick of my people allowing themselves to be divided and conquered or fighting for the benefit of white people. One of my buddies in DC left this just laying around. I almost stole it. I should have stolen it. I needed a nice souvenir. I want my money back. That's the Treasury Department. I don't think that fence has always been there. I think that fence was erected to stop people who also want their money back. Also, I met this dude, Brother Leo Nawa. He lives in DC. He's lived in DC, I think he said, for 25 years, 35 years, something like that. Longer than I've been alive, I think. But he's originally from Côte d'Ivoire, the Ivory Coast. And he's a struggling self-published author, and you should buy his books. I made a post about him the other day, which is this one. But he's written several books. Homeless Lives Matter, My Story, Survival, and Life Lessons Learned. And book 3 is Overcoming Homelessness, My Personal Story. So you can follow him on Instagram at Homeless Lives Matter Book. And he also has Venmo and PayPal.
What's up, y'all? It's BRG. I'm out here
But yeah, sat and had a little talk with him.
in DC on my way back to the hotel, and on my way back to St. Louis. Ran across his brothers from DC, Brother Leo Nawa. Right. Is that how you pronounce it? Right. I'm sorry.
God, I am such an American.
But really compelling life story. He's the author of Homeless Lives Matter, Homeless My Story, and Survival in Life, the Lessons I Learned. So definitely check out this brother. I'm going to post his, he's got some sign here. You can hit him up on Venmo, PayPal. Help get this black man off the streets. Help keep this black man off the streets.
Yeah, I appreciate you, my brother. Thanks a lot, man. Thank you. And I got my newest book, Homeless People, Human Beings Too. And I kind of wrote it for a younger audience.
Okay.
Right. Because some folks watch the parents up here and the kids run and grab a book. And I'm like, there might be some stuff in it that might be too strong for kids. So I kind of wrote this with a lot of short stories in there.
Okay.
To create more, to have kids have more empathy for homeless folks and not buy into the stereotypes that they get fed from by adults.
Yeah.
So this is my newest book, and I recommend that book.
I do too. So yeah, help out Brother Leo. Help keep him off the streets.
I appreciate you so much, my brother.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, that was cool. I literally just ran across him on the like a couple blocks away from my hotel. Robert Davis is a 20-year-old queer black boy who has recently been incarcerated for 15 years for killing Josh Kruger, a white gay media manager who worked under the guise of helping LGBTQ plus homeless people. You know, there was a similar situation, I think, in LA, where an older gay dude was basically abducting black men off the streets and giving them methamphetamine and then raping them. Yeah. Am I so weird? How am I so weird? What's weird about me? I mean, yeah, I'm definitely weird in the sense that I'm a Maoist in the United States, but yeah. DSA Socialist Majority Caucus. Are they trying to take credit for the victory of the left and center left in France? The new Popular Front brought together the left and center left to defeat the threat of fascism and win a plurality of seats in parliament. SMC formally adopted this strategy in our updated points of view. Okay, the difference is that the revolutionary left in France is not in a coalition with the fucking French equivalent of the Democrats. Stop trying to justify your own political opportunism by leading on shit. And it's happening in foreign countries. You had nothing to do with the victory in France. And it was a half-assed hollow victory because this fucking man, if they're not against colonialism and if they condemn Hamas, they are not socialist or progressive or revolutionary. Hey, BRG, what if France becomes like 1936 Spain? Well, I guess you're going to have to go fight. Who was the high-ranking Democrat in Seattle that kept doing that? You're referring to Kshama Sawant from Socialist Alternative? But yeah. So what is their justification? They're the authoritarian right wing in the United States and its primary political vehicle, the Republican Party, pose a historic threat to democracy, racial equality, trans rights, and bodily autonomy. Okay, how were any of these rights gotten in the first place? Were they gotten through forming coalitions with the Democrats? Like, if you recall correctly, the Democrats used to be the party of slavery, slave owners. So, no. What they're trying to do is justify their own political opportunism by referring to shit that's happened in foreign countries in entirely different contexts. And then they're trying to fearmonger. Like, one way you could tell a rightist and a leftist organization is if they're fucking scared about what's going on with Trump now. Like, I am a gay black person. Okay? When they come rounding up people, they're going to come get people like me first. If I'm not tripping, then why are you tripping? It's because if you're a petty bourgeois class stand, you haven't read theory. Like, just let black people take the wheel, okay? We've been through this shit before. We were literal fucking slaves. We did not even have rights in this country of any type until 50 years ago. Maybe you should listen to us. Maybe you should learn from us instead of panicking. Just let us take the wheel. To win socialism, we must keep the far right from power, preventing a suspension of democracy and working class organizing. For most black people, there's never been no democracy in this country. In working class organizing, what is that? Riding Sean Fain's dick? Like, do you know like the history of black people in unions at all? In the early 20th century, they wouldn't even allow us into the fucking unions. This requires participating in a popular front against the right in general elections. Okay, it's not 1936. You're not forming a popular front with the fucking Democrats. What you're doing is liquidating yourself into the Democrats. If you want to be liquidationists, go ahead. But as Lenin said, don't try to drag me into the fucking marsh with you. The American equivalent of this would not be a coalition with the Democrats. Macron is not in a popular front. The centrists are their own bloc. The closest comparison for us would actually be a unified alliance of organizations ranging from the Party for Socialism and Liberation to the WFP in New York, Working Families Party. Also, this is so cute. I wonder how many Americans. Also, he's wearing a fucking Mao jacket. I love it. This is Jean-Luc Mélenchon, basically the big commie in France. But I wonder, like, if you took a gathering of American communists of this size and you had a rally, and at the end you sang the International, I wonder how many would actually be able to sing the International in English. Because International, many don't know this, is originally a French song. So I guess it's part of the culture in France. It's not part of the culture in the American left, but we need to make it part of the international, part of the culture in the left, because it is the anthem of the international proletariat.
Devant tous, j'aurais oublié d'où je viens et qui je suis, et quelle est ma patrie dans le temps. Alors ce jour anniversaire de la Commune de Paris, c'est à nous maintenant, pour ceux qui la connaissent, d'entonner à la mémoire des nôtres, morts pour la liberté, l'Internationale. Debout les damnés de la terre, debout les...
Has been. How many Americans know how to do that? How many American leftists do you think actually know the International? Probably not that many. That's a sign we need to do better political education. Oh, yeah. What are the Israelis doing? They're murdering people that are guarding the aid shipments. And they're shooting these people while they are bound. Or after they've cut the binds on these people, they are immediately shooting them. Watch your circle. Freedom for José Abdallah, the Lebanese communist activist for the Palestinian cause. He's been held in prison in France since 1984 and remains jailed today despite being eligible for release since 1999. Fucking shame. Like, is this new left coalition going to free him? If not, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why? Why should we be optimistic about your whatever? Why? That's why people are calling it a farce. This is an exclusive interview with CPI-M. It's not conducted by me. It was conducted by Redstream.net. It is also, yes, it is very difficult to keep up with what Zionists are doing. You hear about one massacre and another one has already happened. So on the front lines of revolution, an exclusive interview with the Communist Party of India, Maoist. In an exclusive interview, they spoke with the party spokesman Amrut, Central Committee member and head of international affairs of the CPI Maoist, about the unique conditions in India, the efforts to build a new society within guerrilla zones, and their perspectives on pressing questions facing the global left, including the character of China and its rise, the rise of new imperialist powers. What do they have to say about China?
In the multipolar world order, SCO along with BRICS, I will say, under the dominance of social imperialist China, is putting all the efforts to replace the dominant imperialist financial systems like WTO, IMF with its own financial institutions. India is nothing but a poster boy of US imperialism in SCO as well as in BRICS.
So, do you know more than Indian revolutionaries? I don't think you do. So the Indian state has been attempting to eliminate the CPI Maoists for decades, particularly through Operation Green Hunt. What is the current status of the military operation? We must recognize that before the commencement of Operation Green Hunt, the Indian revolutionary movement had already faced severe repression and suppression campaigns in past decades. So the CPI Maoist is a combination of two parties, the MCCI and the CPI-MLPW. One thing that Indian communists love is acronyms. But anyways, the Indian movement has always faced immense fascist repression because India is an extremely important country. So since the outbreak of the Great Naxalbari armed peasant uprising led by brother Charu Majumdar, they've been fucked up heavily by the Indian state. You had Indira Gandhi and her emergency, all sorts of shit. So the first counterinsurgency campaign was Operation Steeplechase in the 70s, and various repression campaigns carried out by central and state governments in the 80s and 90s. And now the Indian state has declared the CPI Maoists the biggest single internal security threat. More than 15,000 comrades of all ranks and files of the party and the People's Liberation Guerrilla Army, including mass organizations of revolutionary people, have laid down their lives until now. So the CPI Maoist has 15,000 martyrs. So what do they think about China? In the multipolar world order, social imperialist China is putting in immense effort to replace the dominant imperialist financial systems like the WTO, the World Trade Organization, and International Monetary Fund with its own financial institutions. So when we talk about China, we're talking about an inter-imperialist conflict. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about them beefing with the United States because they want to make money. They want to make the money that the United States is getting. This is basically a giant squabble over money. That's all. There is no principled socialist position that upholds China. This party is literally at war with the Indian state. One of the very few ongoing revolutions You do not know more about them. You do not know more about them. I mean, you do not know more about China than they do, because they're actually living shit. And this is the same position shared by Filipino comrades. In the areas controlled by the CPI Maoists, how is society organized, and what does your party do differently from the government? So the spokesperson says, as per the above mentioned strategy followed by our party for making revolution, they start from the interior tribal areas, extend to the plain areas, forming organs of people-state power, and finally seize power in cities of the enemy stronghold. So this is an old school Maoist, Marxist-Leninist Mao Zedong thought method of making revolution. Surround the cities from the countryside. The tribal society is feudal, where the head of the village has to say. With the changes brought through the revolutionary movement, the village heads no longer have power because a lot of these village heads are tied into the Indian government. They're bought off. The local party committee, comprised of poor and middle-class peasants, leads the village. In the plain areas, the society is mainly Brahmanic Hindutva with a minority of other religions. The ruling exploitative government speaks a lot about people's welfare, but does nothing. The peasants lack minimum requirements for farming, such as irrigation, seeds, and agricultural implements. How are you going to be a peasant? How are you going to grow food if you don't even have irrigation and seeds? And you don't have a hoe. You have to dig in the ground with a stick. That's not going to work. This is 2024. So a major part of socialism in the global periphery is modernizing farming and collectivizing it. The Revolutionary People's Committees look after the needs of the peasants and focus on raising the yield. The exploitative government is not in the least bothered to run schools and hospitals for tribal people. The Revolutionary People's Committees are running local schools. Every local government has a medical department and a doctor assigned to it. The Concerned Party Committee has a budget for schools run by Revolutionary People's Committees. The doctors from the People's Liberation Guerrilla Army impart training to the Revolutionary People's Committee doctors. The cottage industry department is yet to become active so as to help the people in selling the forest produce and purchasing their daily needs at the market. We are working against a semi-colonial, semi-feudal, strong state that is backed by imperialists. As per our strategy, we build Revolutionary People's Committees where we succeed in bringing down the exploitative government. The guerrilla bases are enduring even amidst a lot of massacres, killings of leaders and activists of party committees, militias, Revolutionary People's Committees, and sexual atrocities on women. We now hold power on a very small level. So there are limitations to development activities that we have taken up.
Modi government has been diluting the diversity of our country. The diversity is unbearable for Brahmanic Hindutva ideology as it strongly upholds Advaita. The saffronization of educational system in the name of national education policy, even attacking the preamble of the Indian Constitution, which promise to the Indian people socialism and secularism, giving double-engine Sarkar name to development. It is bulldozing the houses of particular Muslim communities. In the name of cow protection, it is lynching Muslims, Dalits, and Adivasis in a broad daylight. Hate speeches are being aired through government support mainstream media channels. To keep people aloof from getting aware of the pathetic conditions, this Modi government has entangled people in the divisive wave of religion.
So yeah, really, really good interview. You should read it. Oh, yeah, I definitely like StreamYard a lot better than Streamlabs. These are pictures of Moscow that were taken by an American spy. One of the few, this is apparently around Mayday, but one of the few reams of color photos that were taken. Like, these are very, very good pictures. This was in the early 50s. Really, really good pictures. That's how you need to see the Soviet Union. It wasn't that far away. And I really appreciate the Filipino comrade that said that I'm one of the few principled people on the internet. I don't want to be one of the few principled people on the internet, though. Hey, my buddy Jack is one of the co-chairs of New Orleans DSA. Excellent. You know, black politicians actually used to be cool. They used to be punks like this guy who is endorsing Biden.
That example to set? No, I do not.
This is how black politicians used to be. Black politicians actually used to serve the people and be funny.
I don't have money. You don't have money to pay a $400 water bill? I do not have the money, okay? Did you hear me? Well, in a time of austerity, just a minute. Don't you think it's... how much do you owe? We owe $440. I do not have the money. You say you don't have money to pay your bill? Did you hear me? But your water's still on, though, isn't it? Yeah. Well, don't you think your water should be turned off if you're not paying your bill?
No, it should not be. You know, one of these days you're gonna come corner me and I'm gonna kick your ass. Okay?
For all of this.
This is Maurice Bishop, the former socialist premier of Grenada.
Hostility.
Murdered by his own comrades in a spat of sectarianism. That's why you don't fight your comrades.
Is because some perceive that what is happening in Grenada can lead to a new socio-economic and political path of development. They give all kinds of reasons and excuses, some of them credible, some utter rubbish. There's an interesting one that we saw very recently in a secret report of the State Department. I want to tell you about that one, so you can reflect on that one. That secret report made this point, that Grenada is different to Cuba and Nicaragua. And the Grenada Revolution is in one sense even worse, I'm using their language, than the Cuban and Nicaraguan revolutions, because the people of Grenada and the leadership of Grenada speaks English and therefore can communicate directly to the people of the United States. The real reason.
They were afraid of Grenada because Grenada was actually an uprising, a revolution in an English-speaking country. And yes, Grenada under Maurice Bishop and the New Jewel movement was technically a monarchy because the Queen of England at the time, Elizabeth II, was still the head of state and they still had the Governor General. I think they put him under house arrest. So this is the 24 Republican platform. Let's see what Trump is going to give us or try to. 1, seal the border and stop the migrant invasion. That's not going to happen. It didn't happen when he was president the first time. It's not going to happen now. 2, carry out the largest deportation operation in American history. Okay, that's not going to happen. 3, end inflation and make America affordable again. You don't know how inflation works. 4, make America the most dominant energy producer in the world by far. That's not going to work. 5, stop outsourcing and turn the United States into a manufacturing superpower. That's not going to work. Your corporate buddies are not going to like that. 6, large tax cuts for workers and no tax on tips. Okay, hollow pandering. 7, defend our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, and our fundamental freedoms, including freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and the right to bear and keep arms. What you're basically saying is that you don't care about freedom of speech as long as it's, if it's expressed by Palestinians or black people, we have no freedom of speech. Because you go right down here to point 18 where you say deport pro-Hamas radicals and make our college campuses safe and patriotic again. That's a direct contradiction of your 7th point. Like, do people who have green cards not have civil rights? 8, prevent World War III, restore peace in Europe and in the Middle East, and build a great Iron Dome missile defense shield over our entire country, all made in America. Okay, I'd love to see it. That's not going to happen. Why? Because you're one of the biggest fucking warmongers in the country, man. You're not a peace activist. You want war on your terms. You want war with China, not with Russia. That's basically the difference between you and Biden. 9, in the weaponization of government against the American people. Again, you're literally talking about deporting people who you define as pro-Hamas radicals. 10, stop the migrant crime epidemic. You already talked about migrants. We get it. You're racist. Demolish the foreign drug cartels. Crush gang violence and lock up violent offenders. Again, more bullshit. 11, rebuild our cities, including Washington, D.C., making them safe, clean, and beautiful. Again, American cities have never been safe, clean, and beautiful. Go to New York in 1830. See how safe, clean, and beautiful New York City was. 12, strengthen and modernize our military, making it without question the strongest and most powerful of the world. Yes, let's just throw more money at the military-industrial complex. I thought you want to prevent World War III. No, it seems to me like you want more fucking provocations. You want more military exercises, and you want to throw more money at the Pentagon and at Boeing and at Raytheon and Lockheed to reward the lobbyists. That's what you want. 13, keep the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency. That's not going to happen. 14, fight for and protect Social Security and Medicare with no cuts, including no changes to the retirement age. You're not going to do that. Every Republican raids fucking Social Security. Every Republican. 15, cancel the electric vehicle mandate and cut costly and burdensome regulations. Elon Musk is not going to like that. 16, cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, radical gender ideology, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content on our children. Okay, do you know what your MAGA people are doing? Your MAGA people are literally teaching their kids how to shoot guns, bro. Your MAGA people are literally brainwashing their kids. Like, these evangelical Christians, they're fucking nuts. These people are fucking nuts. Like they're teaching people that the Earth is only 5,000 years old and we lived alongside dinosaurs. Are you going to ban that? No, you want to give fucking federal funding to religious schools. 17, keep men out of women's sports, blatant and open transphobia. 19, secure our elections, including same-day voting, voter identification, paper ballots, and proof of citizenship. But apparently, convicted felons can run for office. Convicted felons can hold office now. Like if Trump is reelected, it's going to be the first time that somebody that's been found guilty of several high-level felonies, criminal offenses, is allowed to occupy the White House. Of course, as a Maoist, I believe that every former U.S. president should be a convicted felon, but that's neither here nor there. 20, unite our country by bringing it to new and record levels of success. That means nothing. Empty platitude. So, are we fucked? No. Okay? Trump is mask off. Biden is mask on. And even Biden's mask is slipping. We're not fucked. Why? Because there are still communists in this country. What communists need to do is quit giving credence to these electoral farces and actually get our shit together, start working together, start training, and start forming mass ties to build mass movements, just as we did between 2016 and 2020. We've seen this show before. It's definitely going to be a lot better because Trump is going to be vengeful. But Biden is also vengeful. Keep in mind what he did to the encampments of college students and Palestinian solidarity activists. Keep in mind what Colombia and the people who fund Colombia and the people who fund the mayor of New York, keep in mind what they ordered against our Palestinian comrades and their allies. Keep that in mind. So, I'm with W.B. Du Bois. I shall not go to the polls. I will not go to the polls on November 5th. I'm not voting for president. Why? Because they're the same shit, practically. Both are going to hurt the people that I care about. Both are going to hurt me. Thanks, Kasamas. Long live the Filipino National Democratic Revolution. Also, yes, it is very sad that a principled stance is common, especially on inter-imperialist conflict. That's why we need political education. That's why we need a revolution. Otherwise, if we don't make a revolution, then yes, we are fucked. So I encourage everybody to join DSA and actually struggle for proletarian, revolutionary, correct left line. We can build an organization worthy of the mantle of the Bolsheviks and the Chinese Communist Party. We can do it, but not by sitting on the internet and dooming all day. Some of you all even goon all day. Don't do that. Okay? All power to the people. And check me out tomorrow. I'm going to be interviewing Comrade Arjun, as I said earlier, who is running for Comrade at Large in YDSA. And in a few more days, I'm going to be interviewing Comrade Bryce. I'm going to end up interviewing everybody who's running for YDSA. I guess the Zoomers really fuck with me. Anyways,